بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال: سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام وقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني أجيت في بدن ضعفا فقلت لهم: أعوذك بالله يا باته من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكمال الله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت: عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرات فؤادي. فقال: يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحات طيبات كأنها رائحات جد رسول الله. فقلت: نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جده يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. صل على. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرات فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحات طيبات كأنها رائحات جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. وقلت: نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جده، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ فقال: عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شرف عمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. الله. فقال: عليك السلام. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. وقلت: عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. وقال: يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحات طيبات كأنها رائحات أخي وابن عم رسول الله. فقلت: نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، يتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له: عليك السلام يا أخي ويا صي وخليفتي وصائب لواي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. الله يا محمد. ثم أعطيت نحو الكساء وقلت: عليك السلام يا باته يا رسول الله، يتأذن ليكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء خاذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومى بيد اليمنى إلى السماء قال اللهم إنها وأهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودموهم دمي يؤلموني ما يؤلموهم ما يعذنوني ما يعذنوهم أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن أدى ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني أنا منهم فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم أذهب عنهم الرجس والطاهرهم تطهيرا الله. وقال عز جل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرض مضحية ولا قمر منير ولا شمس مذيعة ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء خمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء فقال أمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء فقال عز جل هم أهل بيتي نبوتي ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة أبوها وبعلها وبنوها الله محمد وآل محمد. وقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أحبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله علي على يكرك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزة جلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرض مضحية ولا قمر منير ولا شمس مضيئة ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم محبتكم قد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذنوا لي يا رسول الله فقال رسول الله عليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنهم نعم قد أذنت لك فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء وقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا جل محمد وآله. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني لما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله فقال النبي والذين بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرون هذا في محافل من محافل أهل الأرض في جمع شياتنا ومحبين إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت به الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إذا تفرقوا فقال علي وذم الله فزنا وفاز شعتور ورب الكعبة فقال علي النبي ثانيا يا علي والذين بعثني بالحق نبي واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرون هذا في محافل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جمع شياتنا ومحبين وفي محم إلا فرج الله حمه ولا مغم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته وقال علي وإذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شاعتنا فاز صعيد في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. ما صلى على محمد وآل محمد. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرج. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الله صل على
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أن محمدا رسول الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا وفاطمة المعصومين حجج الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه من كل ذنب. يا محسن قد أتاك المسيء. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. تبارك الله ربي. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. إلهي كفى بي عزا أن أكون لك عبدا وكفى بي فخرا أن تكون لي ربا. أنت كما أحب فاجعلني كما تحب. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا ولي العافية نسألك العافية عافية الدين والدنيا والآخرة بجاه محمد والفرج الفاتحة. الله أكبر. الحمد لله كما أمر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. استغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة والرضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت. أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد.
استغفر الله. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمدا رسول الله.
اللهم صل على محمد.
أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا وفاطمة وأبناءهم المعصومين بالحق حجة الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه من كل ذنب يا محسن قد أتاك المسيء وقد أمرت المحسن أن يتجاوز عن المسيء أنت المحسن وأنا المسيء فتجاوز عن قبيح ما عندي بجميل ما عندك يا كريم الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحمد الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد تبارك الله ربي الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة اللهم عجل وليك الفرج الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الحمد لله الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله وأتوب إليه. الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحمده الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. يا الله. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبوح قدوس رب الملائكة والروح. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا من له الدنيا والآخرة وحمد ليس له الدنيا والآخرة يا حبيبي. الله أكبر. الحمد لله كما هو أهله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أستغفر الله الذي لا
إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إنه ليس لي علم بموضع رزقي وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي فأجول في طلبه البلدان فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران لا أدري في سهل هو أم في جبل أم في أرض أم في سماء أم في بر أم في بحر وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك. اللهم فصل على محمد وآله واجعل يا رب رزقك لي واسعا ومطلبه سهلا ومأخذه قريبا ولا تعنني بطلب ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا، فإنك غني عن عذابي وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك. فصل على محمد وآله وجد على عبدك بفضلك، إنك ذو فضل عظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء وبعيد المدى سلطان بالحسن علي بن موسى الرضا، السلام عليك وعلى آبائك السبعة وعلى أبنائك الأربعة وعلى أختك فاطمة المعصومة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان، سيدي الأمان من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، اللهم أرني الطلعة الرشيدة وغرة الحميدة، واكحل ناظري بنظرة مني إليك، وعجل الفرج وسهل المخرج، واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشهدين تحت لوائه. السلام عليك أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. 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 اللهم صل على
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على
صلوات محمد وعلى محمد. صل على محمد وعلى محمد. एक बार और मुझे गोद में ले लो बाबा, वाह हुसैना का हुआ शोर हरम में बरपा, ओ के रुखसत जो चले घर से शहे कर बो बला, कह के ये दौड़ी सकीना के ठहर जाओ जरा, एक बार और मुझे गोद में ले लो बाबा, बाबा सीने से सकीना को लगाते जाओ, अब कहाँ होगी मुलाकात बताते जाओ, तुमको اکبر کی قسم گنشا دہن کا صدقہ، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا، اب نہ پیاسی ہوں نہ پانی کی ضرورت ہے مجھے، کوئی حاجت نہیں بس اتنی سی حسرت ہے مجھے، دیکھ لوں آج میں جی بھر کے تمہارا چہرہ، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا، سوچتی ہوں کہ تماچے کوئی مارے نہ میرے، گوشوارے کوئی کانوں سے اتارے نہ میرے، وہم آتے ہیں میرے دل میں نہ جانے کیا کیا، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا، میں سمجھتی ہوں کہ یوں ہی مجھے بہلاتے ہو، تھا نہ معلوم کہ مرنے کے لیے جاتے ہو، تم ہمیشہ کے لیے ہوتے ہو اب ہم سے جدا، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا، کیا خبر تم سے کوئی بات بھی اب ہو کہ نہ ہو، کون جانے کہ ملاقات بھی اب ہو کہ نہ ہو، دل دھڑکتا ہے میرا بھر اے نبی بہر خدا، ایک بار اور مجھے گود میں لے لو بابا،
محمد و آل محمد بلند تر صلوات.
مومن کرام، ایک دفعہ سورہ فاتحہ جملہ مومنین مومنات بالخصوص شہدائے ملت جعفریہ کے لیے، ان مرحومین کے لیے جو ہمارے ساتھ ہمیشہ موجود رہے آج ہمارے درمیان میں نہیں ہیں، اس میں آپ اپنے مرحومین کو بھی شامل فرمائیں. یہ میں کچھ اور نام بھی لے رہا ہوں، ان کے لیے بھی ایک دفعہ سورہ فاتحہ کی گزارش ہے. سید علی حسین، عطیہ حسین، مبارک بیگم، سید احمد حسین جعفری، سکینہ بیگم، حیدر حسین، نظر انیسہ بیگم، ہادی علی خان، سیدہ رباب حیدر. ایک دفعہ اور سورہ فاتحہ کی گزارش ہے. باب العلم بنی ہاشم سوسائٹی کی جانب سے جو مجلس اعزاز کا سلسلہ یکم محرم سے شروع ہوا ہے وہ انشاءاللہ 7 ربیع الاول تک اسی طرح چلتا رہے گا. یہ تمام مجلسیں بعد از نماز مغربین کے فوراً شروع ہو جاتی ہیں اور نماز مغربین باجماعت ہوتی ہے. آپ سے گزارش ہے پابندی وقت کے ساتھ اس میں شرکت فرمائیں. باب العلم کی تمام مجلسیں آپ لوگوں کے اسپانسر سے، آپ کے سپورٹ سے چل رہی ہیں. جس طرح بھی ہو سکے باب العلم کی مالی اعانت فرمائیں. مجلسوں کو اسپانسر کر سکتے ہیں آپ، بلڈنگ فنڈ میں دے سکتے ہیں، مسلح جات میں دے سکتے ہیں. باب العلم کی ممبرشپ جو کہ یکم محرم سے 30 صفر تک ہوتی ہے ٹائم لمیٹڈ، آپ اس کے ممبر بن سکتے ہیں. پلیٹ فارم ہمارا اویلیبل ہے، آن لائن اویلیبل ہے. آپ پلیٹ فارم پلیز کمپلیٹ کریں جن مومنین نے ابھی تک کمپلیٹ نہیں کیا. جتنا بھی پلیٹ فارم میں آپ دے سکیں ضرور آپ دیں تاکہ ہمارے جو منتھلی ایکسپینسز ہیں وہ صرف پلیٹ فارم سے چلتے ہیں. اسی طرح انشاءاللہ تابوت بسلسلہ شہادت چوتھے امام جناب امام زین العابدین علیہ السلام فرائیڈے کو جو ہے وہ فرائیڈے کو جو کہ 25 کی شب اور 24 محرم ہوگی بعد از مجلس اعزا یہاں پہ شبیہ تابوت بسلسلہ شہادت امام زین العابدین علیہ السلام برآمد ہوگا. آپ سے گزارش ہے اس میں شرکت فرمائیں. ہمارے پاس نواں خانے کے لیے جناب عارف کاظمی صاحب تشریف لائیں گے. ہماری جو شب اعزا ہے ہر سال کی طرح اس سال بھی ہماری شب اعزا جو ہے وہ 15 ستمبر کو ہوگی جس میں علی ضیاء رضوی صاحب نو خوانی کریں گے اور عارف کاظمی صاحب جو ہیں وہ نیو جرسی سے تشریف لائے ہیں. جس کے بعد حسن رضا صاحب بھی نو خوانی کریں گے. یہ آج عارف کاظمی صاحب اور حسن رضا صاحب آج نو خوانی کریں گے اور ہماری جو ریگولر سالانہ شب داری ہے وہ 15 ستمبر کو ہوگی جس میں جناب علی ضیاء رضوی صاحب تشریف لا رہے ہیں. آپ سے گزارش ہے ان پروگراموں میں پابندی وقت سے شرکت فرمائیں. اس کے ساتھ ہی میں گزارش کروں گا قبلہ مولانا نبیل اوان صاحب سے کہ آپ تشریف لائیں آج کی مجلس سے خطاب فرمائیں. ایک اور ریمائنڈر میں بتا دوں کہ کل انشاءاللہ مولانا جو ہیں وہ یوتھ سے بات کریں گے اور یوتھ کا سیشن جو ہے کل شام 7 بجے شروع ہوگا. تو آپ سے گزارش ہے کہ اپنے بچوں کو ضرور اس میں بھیجیں. بآواز بلند صلوات.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد، عن حسين بن علي عليه السلام: البسني زينة المتقين في بسط العدل وكظم الغيظ وإدفاء النائرة. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Mirziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. Our discussions have been centered around Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq of Imam al-Sajjad, Dua number 20 of Sahifa Sajjadiyah. And we've reached the portion of the dua where the Imam alayhi salam is saying, Al-Bisni Zinat al-Muttaqeen, that, O Allah, clothe me in the beautiful clothing of the Muttaqeen. And we said that this clothing is made up of various threads. And the Imam here lists 22 characteristics of the Muttaqeen. And we've been through, I think, 4 or 5 of them. And inshallah we'll continue for the sake of time, won't go over the previous night's points. So the next thing that the Imam says is a characteristic of those muttaqeen, says وَضَمَّ أَهْلِ الْفُرْقَةِ, says that these individuals, the muttaqeen, are those who bring together those individuals that have been disunited. They bring together those that are disunited. And bringing together various nations, various religions, all of this is extremely admirable in the religion of Islam. In fact, in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's telling the Holy Prophet to address the Ahl al-Kitab, the Christians and the Jews, and says, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالَوْا إِلَى كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ, says that, come to us and let us meet on common ground, on grounds that we agree on matters that are common between us. And so here the Prophet of God is being told that if you want to reach out to these individuals from other religions, call them on common ground. And this is extremely important in this day and age, especially when much of morality within society is being worn away. And so it's incredibly important that we reach out and find allies in the stance or the fight against morality. If there's anyone near the amplifier, if they could just turn it down, there's a squeak. No, nobody again. Recite salawat. And if someone could just check if that mic is on or off. And it's on. There we are. Thank you. That should be a bit, there we go. It's a little bit better. Center. So finding that common ground. But what is ironic for us is this, that although we love doing interfaith things, and to some extent, it's this the thing, right? We call all the different faiths together and we're doing interfaith and it's making us feel good. We're telling the Christians about Imam Hussein, we're telling the Jews about Imam Hussein, we're calling the Hindus and the Sikh, and everyone is coming and we're telling everyone about Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And then to some extent we do some intra-faith stuff. We call the brothers of the Ahl al-Sunnah and we tell them as well about all of the things about Imam al-Hussein. But when you go more intra-faith, that's where our divides open now. That amongst us Shi'as, amongst the Ithna Ashari Shi'as, now we have such divides between us that everything that we ask for in dua iftitah in Shahr Ramadan, it seems like we're being hypocritical. Now I'm like, no, I don't go to Bab al-Ilm because I had a problem with the guys at the start. No, I don't go to Bab al-Hawaj because they fell out with me, and we don't go to this one and that one and this one and that one because I've got a problem with this person. And so I can't overcome the simplest of disputes that I had 50 years ago or 30 years ago, or that my granddad may have had, and still I'm there in Shahr Ramadan raising my hands, Allahumma al-mum bihi sha'thana. Oh Allah, through him unite us. As if I cannot unite right now, as if when the hujjah of Allah comes, I'm magically going to put aside all my differences and say, yes, for your sake, Imam, I'm going to go to Bab al-Hawaj, or I'm going to go to Bab al-Ilm, or I'm going to go to Masumin, or I'm going to go to these places. And the vast majority of you are not like that. But there are individuals who, due to this hatred that they have for fellow believers, will cause these divides in the community. And so what the Imam is saying here, وَضَمَّ أَهْلِ الْفُرْقَةِ, the muttaqeen are those that bring back people. They unite the flock together. When I'm saying Allahumma al-mum bihi sha'thana, through him unite us, wash'ab bihi sad'ana, and through him stitch us back together, this flock that is distributed all over the place, then what do I actually mean? Do I actually believe it? When I'm raising my hands, Allahumma inna narghabu ilayka fi dawlatin karima. Oh Allah, I'm ardently asking you to bring that righteous government, the government of the Imam, تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتظل بها النفاق وأهله, that you will give izzah through it to the people of Islam, you will give dhillah to it to those that are munafiq. Let it not be the case that in that dua I'm actually doing a bad dua to myself, because I am the one with nifaq in my heart. That because of this, that I will become the one that is dhalil. Why? Because I have this level of hypocrisy in my heart that I will not go to another center. Even though the majlises of Imam al-Hussein, it is the dhikr of Ahl al-Bayt alayhimu salam, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I will not go on one basis and one basis only, because it's not my crew. It's not my people. And you see it. Now here, alhamdulillah, you don't have that much problem. You guys are more chilled out here. But, come back to England. And then you have then the various factions of, oh no, this Sangat can't do matam with this Noha Khan. And this Sangat will only do matam with this Noha Khan. And this group of matamis will only meet with this group of matamis. Because and so then, where is all of this? Everything that we're doing, all of that we're saying, it is all hypocrisy, isn't it? Because I say all of these things all of the time, but yet my actions don't reflect it. I will make factions and groups amongst people, amongst different centers, on the basis of ethnicity, on the basis of language, on the basis of various different things. I just don't like the look of them, or I don't like the person that they have. I can't transcend these tiny issues to be able to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the muttaqeen are those that unite people. They're those individuals that bring people together. Then the next thing that the Imam says, وَإِصْلَاحِ ذَاتِ الْبَيْنِ, and they are those who do islah. They correct discord. They correct that which is fitna within the society. Islah is used only for when something is broken. And there are 5 types of islah. The first type of islah is the islah, the correction of oneself. That I correct myself. The alim, we have hadith, the alim, that he himself has not done islah of himself, his words will have no effect on people. Or an individual that is trying to do Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar from something, but he himself has not enjoined that good, he himself has not forbidden that evil for himself, his words will have no impact. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says to Malik al-Ashra, he says, Malik, everything that I have told you to do, I have done in my life. And everything I have told you to stay away from, I have stayed away from in my life. The Islah of the self is the most important. The Quran says, Ku anfusakum, save yourself, sort yourself out. And then wa ahlikum nara. This is a huge point in regards to tarbiyah as well, in how we raise our children. If I don't have a merciful approach towards my children, then that Islah within myself, that child will grow up and not have a merciful approach towards me. It's about that Islah of oneself. The journey of Sayyid al-Shuhada and everything that occurred in Karbala, Imam said, وَإِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَالِبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ, I've come out in order to seek reformation. But me right now, what reformation is there? The Karbala of today, the Hussein of today, the Yazid of today is within me. There are two sides to me. Whether I choose to be a Yazid or whether I choose to be Hussein, that's up to me. Which side I choose to go on, which path I choose to walk on. The Islah of Imam al-Hussein, if I want to manifest it in this time, it is the Islah of myself. It is the reformation of myself to fix the broken soul. That soul that has been polluted through hubb al-dunya, through anger, through shahwa, all of these things. When I reform that, then that in reality is reviving the message of Abi Abdullah. The second type of Islah, reformation, is to reform the connection one has with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with God. And that's through various means. Islah with God happens through tawbah. That I turn back towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I do istighfar for the life that I have lived, for the sins that I have committed. And this istighfar, it doesn't stop just because I have now stopped sinning. Because they say that the sinner must do istighfar from his sin, and the abid must do istighfar from his ibadah, because he realizes that his ibadah that he does is not worthy of the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah has given him so much that this half namaz, half concentration salah that he prays is not worthy of that Lord, is not worthy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has blessed him with so much in his life. So tawbah, not just of sin, but from that incomplete ibadah that we do. Islah, correcting that connection with Allah through dua, through munajat. And there is a fundamental difference between dua and munajat. Dua is slightly more formal. Yeah? So you look at, for example, dua kumail. Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatika allati wasa'at kulla shay. You start off like that. Oh Allah, I beseech you through your mercy that encompasses everything. But look at munajat. Munajat is different. Take munajat sha'baniyah. واسمع دعائي إذا دعوتك واسمع ندائي إذا ناديتك. It's different. Now what am I saying? There I said, oh Allah, I beseech you through your mercy that encompasses everything. Here, واسمع دعائي إذا دعوتك. Listen to my dua when I call out to you. واسمع ندائي إذا ناديتك. Hear my cries when I cry out to you. It's less formal. And so the difference between dua and munajat is that munajat is recited in levels of intimacy. When Allah has become close to me, when I have got close to Him. Munajat are whispered prayers that the beloved, that the lover recites to the beloved quietly. Generally dua as well is done quietly. If you look at, take for example the Quran, Zakaria alayhi salam, إِذْ نَادَى رَبُّهُ نِدَاءً خَفِيًّا. Zakaria called out to his Lord quietly, in secret. But dua, its tone is different. Munajat, its tone is different. Munajat is more intimate. It's when one knows the beloved, and so is getting closer and more comfortable with the beloved. And that's why within the same Munajat Sha'baniyah, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, وَإِنْ أَدْخَلْتَنِ النَّارِ أَعْلَمْتُ أَهْلَهَا أَنِّي أُحِبُّكَ. Says, even if you were to throw me in hell, my Lord, I would announce to the people of hell that I still love you, that I still hold you dear. And so dua and munajat are ways to reach Allah. There are many, many ways. As Imam Sajjad puts it beautifully in Dua Abu Hamza Thumali in the beginning portion, he says, Allahumma inni ajidu subul al-matalib ilayka mushra'a wa manahil al-raja'i ladayka mutra'a. Says, my Lord, I find all of the various paths to you open. The path of dua, the path of munajat, the path of salah, the path of fasting, the path of hajj, the path of sadaqah. All of these paths lead to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the rivers of hope that flow from you are free flowing. That there's never a time in my life when I ever should feel that despair within me, knowing that Allah will always, always forgive if I turn back to Him. He will always, always take me again. No matter how bad I've been, no matter how evil I've been, as long as I can come back to Him truly, then Allah will always take me back. So the second is Islah of fixing one's connection with Allah. The third, or before we go into the third one, Islah is when one fixes themselves. Urwat ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi is the uncle of Hazrat Layla, the mother of Ali Akbar. When he was from Ta'if, and the people of Ta'if were extremely harsh to the Holy Prophet. And after some time, Urwat ibn Mas'ud, he comes to the Holy Prophet and says, I want to become a Muslim. So the Holy Prophet helps him recite Shahadatain. And then he says, Ya Rasulullah, give me permission. I want to go and guide my people in Ta'if, because he was the head of one of the tribes of Ta'if. The Holy Prophet says, listen, people of Ta'if, it's going to have no impact on them. Let it be. He says, no, Ya Rasulullah, please let me. The Holy Prophet says, go. So Urwat ibn Mas'ud enters into Ta'if reciting the Tahleel, La ilaha illallah, shouting Allahu Akbar. The people gather around him. Someone fires an arrow at him. He falls to the ground, being struck by the arrow. The people surround him and they beat him up and kill him. The Holy Prophet, hearing this, says the example of Urwat ibn Mas'ud is the one of the mu'min of Ali Yasin. You know, in Surah Yasin, it talks about Habib Najjar, the mu'min of Ali Yasin. وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجَلٌ يَسْعَى قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اتَّبِعُوا الْمُرْسَلِينَ. It's about the prophets that went to the city of Antioch, modern day Turkey. 3 prophets went to the people of Antioch, and they weren't listening. But there was one mu'min amongst them who used to live outside of the city, away from their corruption. And he came running inside, and he said to the people, obey the prophets. What did his people do? Turn around, they attacked him and they killed him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to him, قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ says, enter into Jannah. For you, there's no questioning, there's no hisab, there's nothing. You go straight into Jannah because you tried to guide your people. And then he himself says, قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ. If only my people had understood exactly what it was that Allah has given me, the mercy of God. The Holy Prophet says the example of Urwat ibn Mas'ud is that of the mu'min of Al Yasin. You see how he reforms himself first and then moves to try and reform his people. You look at Hur. Hur on the night of Ashura is in a state of turmoil. Come the time of Fajr, Hur says to his son, he says, Ya bunayya, فَإِنَّ النَّاسَ عَنْ هَذِهِ الدُّنْيَا رَاحِلَةً وَكَرَامَاتِ الدُّنْيَا زَائِلَةً. He says, my son, the people of this world, they will all leave this mortal plane. And the bounties of this world, the beauty that you see, all of this is to be wasted away. Says, let us go and join Hussein and forever be those that shall reach the shafa'ah of Rasulullah, reach Jannah. Reforms himself, then he goes to his children. Then he moves on. The reformation of ourselves or our communities can only happen, or of our children, when we ourselves are able to reform our own self. You know, I remember in Dar es Salaam a couple of years ago, I was doing a class on tarbiyah of children. And it went on for about 4 weeks. And the conclusion of that class was this: that you cannot, the only way to do the tarbiyah of your children is that you must do the tarbiyah of yourself. Do not ask your child to sit in the majlis if you yourself are not sitting in the majlis. Do not ask your child to concentrate in the majlis if you yourself are not concentrating in the majlis. Do not ask your child to have good akhlaq if you have bad akhlaq towards your child. Do not ask your child to speak nicely when you speak harshly towards your spouse. The first point of islah, the first point of tarbiyah of children is that you must do the tarbiyah of yourself. If you are an individual that is harsh, that is rude, that has anger issues, an individual who is to the point of doing dhulm on their children, then you will never be able to reform your children. You will never be able to save them. You must reform yourselves in order to save the next generation. The third type of islah is the islah of finances, of one's income. Through khums, zakat, am I paying my dues on that which I have coming in, on my savings? Zakat, obviously, around here, unless someone has a farm, it doesn't really apply to you. But khums applies to all of us, all those that have savings. And the one that doesn't pay khums, his money is haram. You know, we spend so much time saying la'na upon those who are the ghasib of the haqq of Zahra alayha salam, but the one who doesn't pay khums is the ghasib of the haqq of the imam. So that la'na that we're sending, maybe it's doing a full 180 coming back at us. You know? It's going that way because we're saying la'na on the one that takes that took the haqq of Zahra alayha salam, but the khums itself is the haqq of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam, is the haqq of the imam. The one who doesn't pay is a ghasib of the haqq of the imam. And on top of that, an individual that does not pay khums, his food is not tahir. It's not jaiz to eat the food, because the food is ghasbi. And so I remember one of our teachers used to say that he had a friend who was refusing, a very close friend of his, who refused to pay khums. And so he was in a situation where this friend would always try and feed him, call him home, feed him. So he says, then what I would do is, after I'd eaten, I would calculate what I'd eaten, what the cost was, and then pay khums out of my own pocket for that portion of food that I ate. Because it is haram. The one that doesn't pay khums and buys food and does all of this, it's a problem. And you're using that to then feed your children. And then we're like, oh, why are my children not interested in the deen? Why are they not coming towards the religion? It's about my wealth being not just halal, but also tayyib, being pure. Because I can go and work, and that's my halal income. I go to a job. But is that really pure? Because at that same job, although they're paying me for 1 hour worth of work, I spend 15 minutes doing nothing while the manager's back is turned. So although zahiran it may be halal, but it's certainly not pure. So income streams, it's very important that what we gain, and then from that we buy food, or even if we put aside income, the food that we buy, yes, it may be halal, but is it tayyib? Is it pure? Well, it may be zahiran, may be halal, but food has a huge impact on spiritual growth of an individual. Holy Prophet went on Mi'raj, and one of the things that they showed the Holy Prophet was an individual in the hell, barzakh of hell. He's there and he's eating raw sewage. And in front of him is clean food, pure food. And he's sitting there and he's eating raw sewage. And the Holy Prophet says, Jibreel, what's going on here? What is this? Says, Ya Rasulullah, this is that individual that in the dunya didn't care whether his income was halal or haram. He didn't care the food that he was eating, whether it was halal or haram. He didn't have any focus on that thing. So it's very, very important that we look at our income streams and see exactly where is it come from and the purity of that food and things that we are purchasing. One day the Holy Prophet is presented with a bowl of milk and says, the person says that, Ya Rasulullah, a lady has sent this to you. And so the Holy Prophet, he says, where is this from? So this man goes back and he asks the lady, like, where is this from? And she says, oh, it's sheep's milk. And so comes back and tells the Holy Prophet it's the milk of a sheep. The Holy Prophet says that no. I said, where is it from? Where did she get it from? She goes back and says, it doesn't mean is it sheep or cow or whatever, but where is it from? Says, oh, it's from my own flock that I have raised in my own home and only fed halal. So they go back to the Holy Prophet, they tell the Holy Prophet, then the Holy Prophet drinks it. The next morning he sees that lady. He says, I wasn't trying to offend you, but we, the prophets of God, do not consume anything other than that which is halal and tayyib. Is halal and pure. Remember the example I gave you yesterday of animals that are grazing on lands that do not belong to us. Though zahiran, the animal is halal. But is it tayyib? Because it's wandered off, it's grazing on someone else's land, and I'm okay with that. So these are those small points that one has to be careful of. Because consuming haram food stops your dua from being accepted for 40 days. For 40 days. The consumption of haram food is the reason of Karbala. Imam al-Hussein is saying to the people, he's saying to them that why are my words having no effect on you? Why is it that I'm saying all of these things to you? I'm standing here. This is the amama of Rasulullah, you accept. This is the abba of Rasulullah, you accept. You know that I am the son of Zahra and there is no other son of the Hazrat Zahra left upon the earth, but yet you are still intent on killing me. And do you know why? قَدْ مُلِئَتْ بُطُونَكُمْ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. Because in your stomach is a morsel of haram. morsels of haram. It stops an individual from being able to recognize the Imam at the time. And you think, well, they weren't eating pig or anything, were they? They were Muslims from Kufa, from Sham, Zahiran. So then what's going on? It's because they had taken money from Ibn Ziyad. They had worked for an unjust government. They had taken the bribes of Yazid. They were on the payroll of Yazid. And so all of that haram that they were gaining from their income, they were buying food with it. That food became haram. قَدْ مُلِئَتْ بُطُونَكُم مِّنَ الْحَرَامِ. One of the effects of consumption of haram is that the person cannot listen to nasiha. No matter how much you try and advise them, the person won't change. It won't have any effect on their heart, because of the amount of haram within them. And this is exactly what Sayyid al-Shuhada is talking about. Here, we're very lackadaisical about whether something, oh yeah, it says halal there, it's fine. Doesn't matter who the chefs are, whether they're wearing gloves or not, whether they're touching, is najasat being transferred? No, as long as it says halal. I didn't see anything. It's a problem. Because the years of I didn't see anything, or turning a blind eye to when I see that it's someone that is non-Ahl Kitab cooking my food and touching it with bare hands without gloves, the transmission of the najasat is there. And I'm consuming that. And there's a problem. And here, you guys, jihad is a lot bigger, I've seen. Many of the chefs are not Ahl Kitab. But yet people are still there. It's okay, as long as you don't know. Found a loophole. As long as you don't know. But it still doesn't, the loophole still doesn't protect your spirituality. You're still consuming something that's haram. It will have its effect. Yes, you may not get guna for it because you didn't know, but the effect will still be there. And some people are like, well, how is that fair? How is that fair? I didn't know. Well, you don't turn around to a salmonella-coated egg or rice with E. coli in it and eat it and get food poisoning and say, oh, that's not fair. I didn't know whether there was bacteria on there. Why did God do this to me? It's the same. Everything has a zahir and everything has a batin. Everything has an apparent and it has an esoteric element to it. And food is exactly the same. When I'm not careful about what I'm consuming, I'm filling my stomach, and then when the hujjah of Allah comes, I won't be able to hear Him. I won't be able to go towards Him. So the third thing is that financial islah. The fourth thing is the islah within society. A movement within society to reform and bring society out of degradation. And this is what Sayyid al-Shuhada set out to do. وَإِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي أُرِيدُ أَنْ آمُرَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَأَنْهَى عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأَسِيرُ بِسِيرَةِ جَدِّي وَأَبِي عَلِيِّ بْنِ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. That I've come out in order to seek reform in the ummah of my grandfather by doing amr bil ma'roof and nahi anil munkar. And I will, how is it that I will do this? وَأَسِيرُ بِسِيرَةِ جَدِّي وَأَبِي عَلِيِّ بْنِ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. I will do it by walking upon the seerah of my father and my grandfather, By walking that walk, not just talking the talk. So the whole point of Karbala is that islah. Right now, there are many inhirafat, many deviations that are occurring. Forget ourselves for a moment, but in wider society. And the longer we stay quiet about it, the sooner they will come and knock on our door. They'll end up in our homes. If we bury our heads in the sand and say, well, nothing to do with me, it's all right, my kids are fine. Well, it's not just the case. Just because your children go to a sadiq or they go to somewhere that they're all of a sudden protected from this deviation. Because it's everywhere. It's every place that you turn is there. They're only protected for 5 or 6 hours. So there needs to be a concerted effort, a movement to tackle these immoral deviancies within society. And it's ironic that in Surah Baqarah, when Allah in Ayah 11 speaks about the munafiqun and what they're doing, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا, and they will say to them, don't do fasad, don't do this, لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, don't do fasad upon the earth. قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. So no, we're not doing fasad, we're just doing islah. We're trying to get you to get with the times. We're trying to reform society. We're trying to make society more woke. But that's the facade. You can hide it as much as you want, brush it under the carpet, but it will come knocking on our doors. And if there is not a concerted effort by all to tackle this, then the only option left in 10 years' time will be to do hijrah, out of here, go somewhere else. If you want to go live in the Yukon, or then hijrah back home. Because if you cannot protect your deen, you have an option. And the option is do hijrah. If you cannot protect the deen of your children, say, oh no, it's too hard, then do hijrah. If you can't practice your faith, you can't protect your deen. That's the reality. So the fourth one is the Islah of society, and then the fifth one that the Imam is referring to, particularly in this part of the dua, is وَإِصْلَاحُ ذَاتِ الْبَيْنِ. It is the Islah, the repairing of the relationship between people, between individuals. The narration say, whoever repairs the relationship between two mu'mineen, he receives the reward of a whole lifetime of ibadah. A whole lifetime of ibadah. Rather than putting fuel to the fire to bring people together. You know, Amir al-Mu'mineen is on his deathbed. He turns to Imam al-Hasan. He says, my son Hassan, let me tell you something that Rasulullah told me on his deathbed, that whosoever brings together two mu'mineen that have fallen out with each other, the reward that he will receive is a whole lifetime of salah and fasting. The one that brings together two believers. And there are a few occasions where lying is jaiz. Only 3 occasions where lying is jaiz. One of those occasions is this, to bring two mu'mineen together. You go to one guy and say, oh, you know, he was like, oh, no, he's like this, he's like this. So, oh, really? Because he was really praising you. He was really praising you. You go to this guy, oh, that guy's like this. No, wow. You think like that of him? He was really praising you, you know. He was saying so many nice things about you. And he said, oh, why don't you guys get together? And then you get them together. This is the only time, or one of the 3 occasions. The other 2 will leave for another time. But one of the occasions where lying is jaiz is to bring together two mu'mineen that have fallen out with each other. But we don't do that. We add fuel to the fire. Go to this one, yeah, he's like that. Go to him, yeah, he's like this. We don't bring together, and going back to the point that I made at the start, that we don't bring together the mu'mineen, we further seek to disperse them, to separate them. And so we get to that point where we're being hypocritical. When we say, Allahumma ilmum bihi sha'thana, in dua iftitah, Allah bring us together through him. If you can't come together for his sake now, for the sake of the Imam now, you will never come together for the sake of the Imam when the Imam himself is here. So, the characteristic that the Imam speaks out, wal islahu dhatil bayn, doing islah of the people. The next thing that the Imam says, wa ifsha'il arifa wa satril a'iba, says that the muttaqeen are those who spread good behavior. When good behavior is done, they spread, they talk about that which is good. وَسَتْرَ الْعَائِبَ, and they hide the faults of people. The Holy Prophet, when he's coming back from Ta'if on one of his journeys, and he's been stoned and beaten and he's bleeding, he struggles and he just about makes it to Mecca. One of the mushrikeen sees the state of the Holy Prophet and gives him safe passage into his home. He says, no, he's under my protection, let him come into the house, and he keeps the Holy Prophet in the house. At the Battle of Badr, the Holy Prophet, after winning the Battle of Badr, he says, I swear by God, if that man that was still alive today, I would have forgiven all of these prisoners of war and I would have released them all because of the one good that he did for me. Someone does one good, I never bring it up. The moment they do something wrong, that's it, everybody knows. I can never say anything good about anyone. Again, in the Battle of Badr, the Holy Prophet gathered all the Muslims. He said, listen, in the fighting, make sure you don't go near Abu al-Bakhtiyar. He said, Ya Rasulullah, why? He says, because Abu al-Bakhtiyar is that individual that never disrespected me. He may be a mushrik, but he was never rude to me, nor did he ever swear at me, and at the same time as not swearing at me, he stopped others from swearing at me as well. He would tell them, why are you swearing at him? If you have a problem, then go and fight him in battle. He says, if you come across him in the battle, nobody kill him. Leave him. Let him go. Why? Because of that one good. A person does 100 goods for us. We never remember any one of them. But the moment that person does something bad, that's it. We bring it up. Halima Sa'di was one of the wet nurses of the Holy Prophet. One of them. The Holy Prophet had 3 wet nurses. So if you take that period of 3 wet nurses, how long could have Halima breastfed the Holy Prophet? Not that long. But whenever Halima Sa'di would enter the room, this is after the announcement of Risalat, the Holy Prophet would stand fully for her, take off his abba, place it on the ground and say, Mother, you sit here, because you are the one that fed me milk when I was a child. This is the akhlaq of the Prophet for his wet nurse. Imagine, then compare our akhlaq for our own mothers. How is it that I talk to my mother? How is it that I address her? When she tries and corrects me, how is it that I speak back to her? How is it that I speak to my father? Both of my parents, how is it that I interact with them when they tell me not to do something? Start throwing a tantrum, start throwing things, then the older I get, the worse it gets. Adab is the fundamental part of the life of the human being. If one cannot show adab, cannot show akhlaq towards his parents, cannot control his tongue in front of his parents, then what hope is for that person? There is no hope. One needs to understand their place and stay within it. I think it was here on Masubin, I said this hadith, that Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Al-adab an yaqif al-insan inda haddih. Adab is that a man understands his boundaries and he stays within his lane. That the son doesn't become the father, nor the father doesn't come down to the level of the son. Oh, we're going to be friends. No, there has to be a difference. The maqam that has been granted and given to you is one that has to be maintained. So having adab, the Holy Prophet had this level. Whenever someone did something good, those parents that have done day and night have done good for me. day and night have spent their lives trying to raise me the best that they can. But the moment that it comes to them saying something that I don't like, then I turn against them. That is the destruction of a human being. Nobody can ascend towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except through this. Even if your parents are kafir, their respect is essential. We don't remember the good that people do. We've just somehow been programmed this way. We don't remember the good. We just remember all of the bad that they have done. We don't remember any of their good. And this is again a point of tarbiyah. That we do this with our children as well. That they become rebellious. Because they'll do 100 good things and we won't praise them for the good that they've done. But they do one bad thing and we make sure that they realize that they've done something bad. When you positively reinforce that which is good, sometimes children begin to react more and more, act in a bad way more and more, because they know that if they do something bad, that's the only way they get the attention of the father or the mother. Because father's too busy on his phone, or father's too busy going to see his friends, or father's too busy at work. And so they begin to act out in order to get that attention. And so praising the good and hiding the faults is one of the maqam of the muttaqeen. It is one of those signs of those that are muttaqeen. Ikramah, the son of Abu Jahl, when he became Muslim, and then what happened to him afterwards is not our concern, but when he became Muslim, people would constantly say bad things about Abu Jahl in front of him. Would over and over speak ill about his father. And the Holy Prophet would stop them. He would say, no, don't speak ill about his father in front of him. No, it's going against akhlaq, against adab. So the last point is that, well, ifsha al-arifa, the muttaqeen are those that spread good. When someone does something good, they praise it. And they spread that good. They talk about that person in a good way. Do you want to come inside? Do you want to, because you keep opening that door. Come inside. You can come over here as well. There we are. Ahsantum, ahsantum. You as well? Okay. Bismillah. Now there's a line of them. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahsant. So whenever someone does something good, we don't want to praise that good. It hurts us to praise something good that someone else has done. But the moment they do something negative, then it's just game on. Then we make sure that everybody knows the bad that they've done. But the mu'min is the one that manifests that satarul uyub, being of Allah within himself. That he hides the evils and the faults of people to an extent, until it gets to the point where an individual is now leading to deviation, and so that deviation must be called out. So those 3 or 4 points, inshallah. There are another 15-16 points. I'm not sure if we'll be able to complete them all in this series, but I'll leave that for you as homework to go and look up and read Du'a Makarimul Akhlaq. And I do genuinely hope that, coming to these majalis, hearing about the dua has inspired you to pick up Sahifa Sajjadiyah, or at least look at Du'a Makarimul Akhlaq. Because if we don't do at least that, then what is the point of us coming and listening? It's just entertainment then. We listen, oh yeah, it was great. He said a few nice things, made me feel good at the time, but I went home and just forgot about it. And that's why we never progress, because we don't build on the things that we learn, the things that we hear. Because for us, majlis has become entertainment. Oh yeah, it's cool. He comes. He's got a nice accent. He sounds like, smart and stuff. So we just come and listen to him. But actually, it's not me. Don't come for me. It's the words of Ahl al-Bayt alayhimus salam. Take those and implement them within your lives. The Sahifa Sajjadiyah is that book that has solutions for all of the problems in your life. If only we just picked it up. The Imams were madhloom in their day and age at the hands of their enemies. That Amir al-Mu'mineen would take Kumail out into the desert, say, Kumail, ha huna ilman jam'a. Kumail, there is so much knowledge here, but there's no one to take it from me. There's no one that wants this knowledge. They were madhloom back then at the hands of their enemies. But today the Imams are madhloom at the hands of their Shi'as. That I have Nahjul Balagha in my home. I have Sahifa Sajjadiyah in my home. And I've never once picked it up. Ibn Abil Hadid, a Sunni alim, is saying, I've read Khutbah 221 of Nahjul Balagha 1,000 times. And I, as a Shia of Ali, have never read it. I've never thought about it. I've never pondered over it. The way we keep alive the teachings of Ahl al-Bayt alayhimus salam is in our actions to revive their teachings. Otherwise, all we're doing is just ticking a box. And when the Holy Prophet talks about Akhir al-Zaman, he says that there will come a time upon the people, Masajidahum ma'mura wa qulubuhum kharabun min al-huda. They'll build beautiful masajid. They'll build huge masajid. There'll be an Imam Bargah on every corner of every block. وَقُلُوبُهُمْ خَرَابٌ مِّنَ الْهُدَى. But their hearts will be devoid of any sort of guidance. لَا مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ إِلَّا رَسْمُهُ. Nothing will remain of Islam but tradition. وَلَا مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ إِلَّا إِسْمُهُ. And nothing will remain of their faith, just their name. Just the fact that he's known as Ali or Haydar or Abbas or Ja'far or Musa or Fatima. That is the only way that people will know that this person is a Shia. Otherwise, you look at their akhlaq, you look at their ibadah, you look at their dua, you look at their conviction and their attraction to the deen, and you can never know that this person is a Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And that's a very scary place to be. That I have their names, but I do not have any of their characteristics. And so if anything from these lectures and the final one that will happen tomorrow, if there's anything that you've taken, it is this. Or that you should have taken, it should be this. That there is Sahifa Sajjadiyah, and it has the solutions for all of life's problems within it. Pick it up, read it. See what it is that the Imam is saying to you. Because otherwise, if we don't, then when the Imam of our time comes, and we don't focus on these small things that the Imam is talking about in Dua Maqarim al-Akhlaq, then we may be on the wrong side of history. There were many that could have come across to Imam al-Hussein. From 120,000, only 5, 6 came to Imam al-Hussein from the army of Yazid. Hur, Abu al-Hutuf, and a few others that joined Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashra. They left. But the vast majority of them all prayed, all fasted, all recited Quran. But it was these minutiae that we're speaking about that weren't important to them. The purity of their income stream, the purity of the food that they're putting in their stomachs. And because of that, they were willing to kill the Hujjah of Allah. And not just the Hujjah of Allah, but even to go as far as killing a 6-month-old child. There are two things that I have come across in the riwayat post Karbala that Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam cried over the most. The first is the thirst of Imam al-Hussein. Sayyid al-Sajjad would always say, they killed my father Atshanan, thirsty. He inscribed upon his grave, هذا قبر الحسين ibn Ali. This is the grave of Hussein ibn Ali, the one that was killed thirsty. The thirst of Abi Abdullah was one thing that really stuck with Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. When Zainab alayhi salam ran to the body of Imam al-Hussein for the first time, one of the things that she says, بِأَبِي الْأَطْشَانِ حَتَّى مَضَى, says, oh, may my father be sacrificed for the thirsty one that was slaughtered in this way in Karbala. The thirst of Imam al-Hussein was always remembered. And the second part of Karbala that was constantly remembered by Ahl al-Bayt was the shahadat of that 6-month-old child, Aliyun Asghar. That when Imam al-Sajjad was approached by Minhal and he would tell him what happened in Karbala, what Mukhtar is doing to take revenge, the Imam would always ask him, Minhal, have they caught Hurmala yet? Have they found Hurmala yet? Because Hurmala did such an attack on Ahl al-Bayt that even Imam al-Hussein himself remembers you at that moment. That was so difficult for him. An individual, sometimes when they go through a difficulty in life, they usually go to their family members and discuss with their family members. They mourn with their family members. But sometimes there comes a difficulty or a loss that is so great that they know, I can't discuss it with my immediate family. I have to go out and speak to other people about it, because the immediate family won't be able to bear to listen to what has happened. The case with Ali Asghar is this, that the Imam did not mourn with Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. Instead he called you, his Shi'as, Shi'ati laytakum fi yawmi Ashura jami'an tanzuruni kayfa astasqi li tifli fa abawu an yarhamuni. Oh my Shi'as, how I wish you were there on the day of Ashura, and you would have seen how I took my 6-month-old child out and what mercy they showed me, Hussein. Imam al-Hussein goes out, in lam tarhamuni, if you're not going to have mercy upon me, then at least have mercy upon this child. Hurmala fires the arrow. The Imam says in Ziyarat Nahiya, he says, Assalamu ala al-tifl al-radi' madbuhim min al-uzn ila al-uzn. My salams be upon that child that was slaughtered from ear to ear. And then I was reading earlier, the Maqatil say the state of Ali Asghar was such, yarafrafu upon the child began to shake his hands and his feet like the way that a bird once it is slaughtered does. Imam al-Hussein looks down at the child, looks up towards the heavens. Hussein has nothing else to give in the way of Allah. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, for the sake of this madhloom 6-month-old child of Abi Abdullah, Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shafa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Abi Abdullah this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq for Hajj and Umrah. Ya Allah, keep safety azadar of Sayyid al-Shuhada around the world. Ya Allah, destroy the enemies of Tashayyu in whichever form they may come. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true awaiters, Matameh Hussein.
مومن اکرام، مہمان نوحہ خان جو کہ نیو جرسی سے تشریف لائیں، شاعر اہل بیت، اور نوحہ خان جناب عارف کاظمی صاحب نوحہ خوانی کریں گے، ان کے بعد سے حسن ضیاء نوحہ خوانی کریں گے. یا حسین جناب عارف.
ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر. گھر میں آ جاؤ، گھر میں آ جاؤ محل کا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر. فاتح بدر کی نشانی ہو، فاتح بدر کی نشانی ہو، فاتح بدر کی نشانی ہو، فاتح بدر کی نشانی ہو. فتح کر لی ہے کربلا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر. دل رزنے لگے ہیں، دل رزنے لگے ہیں دشمن کے، دل رزنے لگے ہیں دشمن کے، دل رزنے لگے ہیں دشمن کے، دل رزنے لگے ہیں دشمن کے. یہ تبسم کا معجزہ اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر. دیکھتے ہیں تمہاری قربانی، دیکھتے ہیں تمہاری قربانی، دیکھتے ہیں تمہاری قربانی، دیکھتے ہیں تمہاری قربانی. نازش فخر انبیاء اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر، ہو چکا ختم مار کا اصغر. اب تو آ جاؤ ماں کی گودی میں، اب تو آ جاؤ ماں کی گودی میں، اب تو آ جاؤ ماں کی گودی میں، اب تو آ جاؤ ماں کی گودی میں. تم کو سرور کا واسطہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر لگ گئی ہے تمہیں نظر بیٹا 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 آؤ پڑھ دوں کوئی دعا اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر دل بہلتا نہیں کسی صورت 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 اب نہ تڑپاؤ دل ربا اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر آؤ تم کو پلاؤں میں پانی 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 خشک ہوگا بہت گلا اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر آؤ تم کو پلاؤں میں پانی 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 خشک ہوگا بہت گلا اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر چین کیسے رباب کو آئے 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 جب تڑپتی ہو مامتا اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر تیرے خون کا حساب مانگے گی 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 حشر کے روز فاطمہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر ہو چکا ختم معرکہ اصغر
چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ بھلا شیر خدا کا آج رستا کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ لعینوں نے کہا پامال کر دو لاش قاسم کو، لعینوں نے کہا پامال کر دو لاش قاسم کو، بھلا پامال اب کرنے سے لاشا کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ کہا عباس نے دریا پہ جا کے فوج والوں سے، کہا عباس نے دریا پہ جا کے فوج والوں سے، مجھے بھرنے سے اب مشق سکینہ کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ کٹا کے ہاتھ بھیا سو رہے ہو جا کے ساحل پر، کٹا کے ہاتھ بھیا سو رہے ہو جا کے ساحل پر، بہن کے سامنے اب آ کے پردہ کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ نمازیں جب پڑھی جاتی ہوں تلواروں کے سائے میں، نمازیں جب پڑھی جاتی ہوں تلواروں کے سائے میں، انہیں تیروں میں اب کرنے سے سجدہ کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ زمانہ چاہے جتنی کروٹیں بدلے مگر راہی، زمانہ جتنی چاہے کروٹیں بدلے مگر راہی، غم شبیر میں شیعوں کا رونا کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟ بھلا شیر خدا کا آج رستا کون روکے گا؟ چلا ایک شیر پیاسا سوئے دریا، کون روکے گا؟
توجه زيارت. السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا حجة الله، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس، السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس أيها المدفون بأرض طوس، السلام عليك يا علي ابن موسى رضا الراضي بالقدر والقضاء، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والأمر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان، السلام عليك يا كحبة الإيمان، حجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على
دعا امام زمانہ اللہم کل ولیک الحجت صلواتک علیہ وآلہ فی هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقاهدا وناصرا وليا وأعينا حتى تسكنه أرزقك وتبدله فيها توحيدك برحمتك يا راحمين. نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ حیدری، حسینیت.